going down. It's going down, 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 down. It's going down,
Well, all right. Well, hello out there in the great land of YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all those great places that we stream on, Rumble, this good stuff. Welcome to the MCU's Bleeding Edge. We are live Friday, 8/26, discussing She-Hulk Episode 2, which happens to be titled Superhuman Law. So, we are in the second episode of the She-Hulk series, and so far we have had some pretty good episodes, even though they are, keeping it to that short kind of sitcom standard of 30 to 37 minutes long, and it still seems to be like it's one of the best Marvel series so far, I think, anyways. But anyways, we're going to go around the panel and introduce everyone, so please, as I go by you, please just move on to the next person and just introduce yourself and say where you're from, starting with you, Jasmine.
I'm from Chicago, and I'm Jasmine.
I meant your podcast.
Oh, I have a YouTube channel that I do, and I talk about do movie reactions and video game reactions, makeup tutorials. So if you're interested, that'd be your place to go.
Awesome, thank you. Jesse, please introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jesse Starcher. I do a show called the Source Material Comics Podcast on the W2M network. It's kind of like a book club for comics. Also have a 90s-centric podcast over there where it's 90s comics all the time, and that's called Unspoken Issues, tied in with the UnspokenDecade.com, which is one of the premier websites for 90s comics. And I also hang out with Mark Radulich and Robert Cooper on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, and we do the Metal Hammer of Doom. So that's normally us on Thursdays talking some type of metal album. So there you go.
Awesome, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Bryn, Loki's mom, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Loki's mom, also known as Renee. I basically just hang out over it. Sometimes over at the MCU'S with Sarkar, the Grandmaster, over at Podcast of Champions, and a great group of guys over there. And we talk about Marvel and other things. And I'm also serve as Jeff TrueKnowledge's spiritual advisor.
Awesome, thank you. That's great
true.
to know.
That's actually true.
That's awesome. Great. That's great. Thank you.
Lord knows he needs it.
Hey, he sure does. All right. Andrew, please introduce yourself, sir.
Sure, thank you. My name is Andrew Orozco. I'm a staff writer over at Geek News Now. I'm also a host of a video game podcast called DuoSense, DuoSense, where we talk mostly about video games news and what we've been playing for the last week. And then I also co-host a Star Wars podcast just called My Star Wars Show. Not very creative, but that's my co-host's idea for the name of it. You can find that on YouTube. So the video game one's on Spotify and all the other podcast services, and then the Star Wars one is strictly YouTube visual. So there you go.
Awesome, thank you. And of course, we have, as always, Mr. TrueKnowledge, Mr. Jeff S. there, my lovely co-host up there in the left-hand corner, pouring himself a drink there, it looks like.
That's right, brother. I'm reliving my dream of being in the movie Cocktail.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
What do you got there, Jeff? What are you serving yourself there?
Oh, you know what, man? This is actually what I got into with Raymond over at Booze and Chill YouTube channel. He reacts to alcohol. Well,
Okay.
we did a show one night and reacted to this. Gloria Ranchola margarita wine cocktail. This is watermelon.
Oh.
And yeah, it's pre-mixed blended margarita.
Sounds tasty.
Sounds delicious. I love anything watermelon related. I love, so that sounds good.
Most definitely.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. So, She-Hulk, episode 2. Sir Jeffrey, if you have that trailer ready, we will watch it to get everyone excited for She-Hulk discussion, please.
All right. Sounds wonderful.
Wow! Jesus, what the hell, man?
Still in control, no overwhelming feelings of rage.
No! A normal amount of rage!
You do revert back to Gen form when you sleep.
Was the air horn really necessary?
For comedy, absolutely. This is a multi-year journey you're about to embark on.
Yes!
Yeah. Who's your best friend?
Nikki.
Spandex. Spandex is your best friend. Being a Hulk asks for balance. You have so much more to learn. Yes!
So I'm clearly nailing it at all these things.
If you want to go back to your life as a lawyer, I respect that.
He doesn't mean that.
More and more eccentric superhumans are coming out of the woodwork. We're going to launch a division for them. And I want the She-Hulk to be the face of it.
Jennifer Waters. Namaste.
I have a serious conflict of interest. This man tried to kill my cousin, Bruce.
Yeah, that's quite all right.
Oh. People only care because I'm representing Emil Blonsky. I think they care because they're like, hey, that girl's green. Jen, do your thing. God, I really like this outfit. I'm not proud of this.
Miss Walters, we answer to a higher power. Our universe is on the edge of a precipice.
I am a lawyer. We do things by the book.
No, the Book of Ashanti.
No, the Book of American laws.
Whether you like it or not, you're now a superhero.
Let's do this. You know that friend you had in high school who was way cooler than you were attractive, got all the attention from everyone? Hello.
I think I'm jealous. Is that what I'm feeling?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Chad.
You got fired. Chad.
Chad.
So to bring it up.
I said don't bring it up. Why would I tell you to bring it up?
Sorry, Uncle Mo.
She already feels like complete crud.
It's okay, Dad. Yes, got fired, but it's fine.
Here is the nicest young man who works at the coffee shop that I go to. His name is Yusuf.
Do not set me up,
No,
Mom.
no, he's much too young for you. No, he wants to be a superhero, and I told him that my daughter was a superhero. He hadn't heard of you, but I gave him your number so that he could call you for advice.
Please stop giving my number out to strangers.
Now, Jen, that Hawkeye guy, what happens to those arrows of his? I mean, does he go around and collect them when he's done?
Jenny? Nobody calls me that.
I'm just going to put this out there. Melanie is a stylist, you know. She could help you.
Let's get this hair more like She-Hulk's.
So back to Hawkeye. It's pretty hazardous to leave those things lying around.
Chunky highlights.
Appreciate it.
I got this DJ thing about being a personal trainer. You know, the Hulk is in my veins. You know what I'm saying? I got a little bit of...
Now, Jen, there's a couple things I could use your help.
There we go, folks. We got you all excited about this episode of She-Hulk, episode 2, which, as I said before, is called Superhuman Law. Anyway, so this episode starts off pretty cool, I think. It starts off with news coverage of the incident that we saw at the very end of the last episode with Jennifer turning into She-Hulk for the first time in the court of law and saving the people there from Titania. So it shows up these all these news coverage and stuff like that, talking about it, like who's She-Hulk, who's this Jennifer Walters, and who Titania is a little bit and stuff like that. We have these short little news coverages, and then it goes back. Then it goes to Jennifer and her assistant, and they're outside of a bar, and they're all here for you and stuff like that. And so they basically end up going inside the bar, and they're basically having drinks and stuff like that. And she has a little conversation with one of the other lawyers there for a brief moment as she's in She-Hulk form. And he makes a funny comment, and then makes a really crude comment, and then walks away. And then after that, that's when her boss approaches her and says, can I talk to you for a minute, Jen? And she's like, oh, of course, and she's like, can I talk to you in Jennifer form? And he's like, okay. And so she shrinks back down to normal Jen size, and she falls over, which was really funny and hilarious, because when she's in her normal form, all the liquor that she's drank as She-Hulk is completely different element, because she's not in She-Hulk form anymore. But then they kind of have a little conversation about how that whole incident in the court basically makes the court, their business look horrible, and that they can't have that happening. So she gets fired. And she basically goes, fire me? And that's pretty much that little beginning scene. That's when we go to the beginning credits, and we get the great She-Hulk. And then, if you notice, did anybody notice that after the credits pop up, it underneath where it says attorney at law, it turns to attorney for hire?
Yes.
Did anybody notice that?
No, I didn't notice that.
Okay, so yeah, it changes to attorney and hire, so which I think that's a cool little thing there. So, beginning with that little beginning section, before we move on, we'll go through and ask everyone, what were you guys' thoughts on how this episode started compared to the first episode? Did you think that was a good way to start it? Did you like the news coverage? Did you like that first opening bar sequence? Was there anything that you particularly liked about it or hated? And basically just your overall experience of that beginning section of this episode. Starting with you, Jasmine.
I actually really like it. It seems to give us more humanized version of a Marvel event, what society sees in the MCU. Because we've really only seen it from the superheroes' perspective and never everybody else's perspective outside of Hawkeye, which gave us our first instance of that. So the show is doing a great job at that.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add about that beginning little sequence?
I did like how they changed it from attorney at law to attorney at hire. My man saw that, and I was like, holy crap, it did change. So it was a nice little joke right there.
Awesome, thank you. Jesse, your thoughts, sir?
I'd say the one thing that kind of stood out to me, you mentioned how her boss was like, can you revert back into Jennifer form so I can talk to you? And all because I think he was afraid of getting punched square in the face. He knows he's about ready to fire her. And there's also that kind of he's her boss. Also, he wants to make sure that if she's standing 3 feet above him, he's definitely going to feel a little less powerful and able to kind of obviously tell her that she's no longer going to have a job. But yeah, bring her back down to human form and then firing her when she's drunk off her butt. Takes her a few seconds to figure it out, but she finally figures it out. Oh yeah, you're firing me. And that right there is that the employer, the law firm, I mean, they have a point because she ends up losing. She lost the lawsuit because of what happened. Granted, all she was trying to do was save some people, but because that happened, they filed for a mistrial, saying that the jury was going to be biased against their side of things, obviously. So anyway, kind of sets things up for what's going to be happening here later in the episode, which is good. But yeah, I enjoyed what we got there. We get our name. She gets her name, She-Hulk, and she doesn't like that too well.
Chick Hulk.
Chick Hulk.
All right, thank you. Loki's mom, your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the whole using the little news clips at the very beginning, I think that's a really great way to advance the story, and it fits into this because it's newsworthy stuff going on. It's stuff that happens in courtrooms and stuff like that. And I think there was like one scene where somebody was doing a digital, or maybe it was in another episode, where they're doing like a digital drawing of the, but they're not humans or something else. But anyway, yeah, the whole in the bar, that was hilarious, where she has to shrink herself down, and then she's back to her totally human self, and then she's drunk. Just all of a sudden it hits her. I thought it was, really, really funny. Just really good humor. I think the one thing about Jen, though, is she is, I'm trying to think of another person, maybe y'all could correct me. She's sort of the, what you call an everyman or an every woman character who's the superpowers have been foisted upon her. She didn't in any way put herself out there to be a superhero. Even her cousin Bruce was doing all kind of weird experiments and stuff like that that got him in trouble, got him in his situation. But so she's this person having to deal with all this newness that's been put on her, and then added to the fact that she's, well, we don't need you now here at the law firm because that jeopardized our at the DA's office because that jeopardized the case, and yada yada, and goes on to the next scene. But yeah, so far they're handling it really well. And like you say, and we've only seen like less than 60 minutes or a little over 60 minutes of so far of the TV series. They've really packed a lot into it. And so yeah, so far I agree. I think it's probably going to shape up to be one of the best, if not the best, of the Disney Marvel TV shows.
Thank you. Very good. Andrew, your thoughts, sir?
Just going back to the beginning, I don't know if we knew this ahead of time before the show came out, but like when they mentioned Titania in the beginning, that she's a influencer superhero, and I just found that kind of like really like what does that look like in this world? Like is she like out using her powers and like on streamings like as she does stuff? So I thought that was interesting, but I wish we got to see more of her. It seems like that whole thing was like wrapped up in between episode 1 and episode 2 because we just go straight to like the results after. So I wanted to see more of that character. I like how like when they're interviewing the people, of course, about the news and like what happened, and like they explain how Renee said it right, Chick Hulk, and he's like a She-Hulk. He's like that's it. Yes, exactly that, like a She-Hulk. And then when she goes to the bar and she hears the name, and she's like, oh, like I can't even like exist as my own person without being like in reference to like my cousin, like the Hulk part of her name and stuff. So I thought that was like really clever writing. Other than that, I feel like this is just barely the second episode of 12 or more than that, right?
8.
Oh, okay. Is it 8 episodes? Okay. I was thinking of another show then it's like a lot long. Oh, I think of Andor. I think that's why. But anyways, yeah, it was pretty good. I don't know, like looking at the sizzle reel we just saw earlier that Jeff played, like with Wong and like Abomination, like all these other characters are gonna have to like fit in. I'm curious, like how are they gonna pull that off? So yeah, that's my initial impression of the beginning, at least.
All right, thank you, Sir Jeffrey. Your thoughts, sir, on that beginning scene up to the credits?
Well, I mean, like, again, when you've got such wonderful, talented guests on the show and everything, they pretty much steal all your thunder. If you end up like in the 4 or 5 spot in this rotation, you're pretty much screwed. You're left with like nothing. You got scraps and shit to work with. But no, echoing off of Jesse. I mean, the whole vibe of the entire introduction and then into like those initial scenes was very positive. Very upbeat. I love the energy so far of what we've seen. I love the energy of episode 1. The energy was a little bit different in this episode overall, but similar at the same time. And I think that again, bouncing off Renee, who essentially just is like copying me because I already said flat out that She-Hulk was going to be the best series of the year. So, hats off for that. I don't blame you for, rocking with true knowledge on that one, to be honest with you. That was a good move on your part. I think that Tatiana Maslany is freaking awesome so far. She looks great. I love her as She-Hulk. I love her as Jennifer, Walters, either way. I love the fact that in this episode, you saw a lot of her flushed out both ways as regular Jennifer and then as She-Hulk too. I like that dichotomy. I like seeing that. Gerald Glassford the other night when I was on with him on the Pop Culture Cosmos, one of his gripes was that we didn't get more Jennifer Walters as a lawyer, like background, more origin of that to work with before she just became She-Hulk. And I feel like at the very least, they're giving us more Jennifer, regular Jennifer, along with the She-Hulk Jennifer. So I like that. And like Jesse said, off what he said, that when the boss says to her, like, we want you to be She-Hulk, like not normal Jennifer, She-Hulk, like right now. That was hilarious. I love that. You know what I mean? Like, it was funny. It really was. It was funny.
Okay, so I saved this question specifically for you about a part of this scene in the bar.
Okay.
So the guy that comes up to Jennifer and is talking to her in She-Hulk form, the other like lawyer guy, and is like berating her and then says about the hot chick. I want to know your thoughts on that little scene.
Can you, just to flush it out so I understand, because I'm trying to remember, what did he mean by the hot chick? Was he talking about She-Hulk?
No, he was talking about another chick across the room in the bar.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't think really much that really much of it, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I think it's interesting that bouncing off that question, that if anything, I think they do a really purposeful, job in the series so far of making her She-Hulk version look more attractive. Like they really kind of elevate her looks like as She-Hulk. Whereas when she's regular Jennifer Walters, she's kind of meek. Her hair's a little frizzy, she doesn't look all well put together at times. She's very attractive, don't get me wrong, but they almost kind of like take away from her attractiveness. So no, as far as like the bar scene goes, honestly, Cyber, I didn't really take much out of it, to tell you the truth. Were you expecting one of my normal, like, raunchy quips?
Yes, I was. That was the whole point of it.
There was a bait
killed
here,
it.
it seems like.
You killed it.
You have a reputation to uphold, Jeff.
Yes, that's the reason I had the question for you.
I'm saving it. I'm going to let Renee take this one.
Well, I think Jeff was looking at She-Hulk too much to notice the hot chick.
Hey.
Apparently.
I mean, hey, I've done reaction videos to Bandmade where it turned into a Bandmade reaction to like talking about what it'd be like to have sex with aliens. So I mean, She-Hulk is right in my ballpark, with aliens and all that stuff.
Okay. There we go. That's more of the Jeff.
Big green woman.
Big green woman. Yep. All right. So moving on. So after the credits roll up, that's when we get kind of like a little bit of montage of Jennifer trying to find another job. And we see her kind of like doing like these interviews, her sitting in the chair, getting rejected one after another. We see her in bed at one point, and then in bed with her assistant lady that she's friends with, and she's like trying to suggest places she could go. And basically she ends up, she's, they're talking and stuff, and then all of a sudden she gets a text from her mother saying, "Don't be late for dinner." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "I got to remember to do that." And so then that's what it cuts to her going to her family's house to have a family dinner. And that's where basically that scene we just saw a little bit ago, it's a part of that scene. And so she goes in and she's talking. And that's when her dad pops in and starts talking to her, who is played by the awesome Mark Lynn Baker, who I absolutely love this guy. He has been one of my favorite actors since Perfect Strangers back in the 80s. And I was so happy to see him in something recently. It was great to see him. I think it's hilarious to pick him to play her father. He's a perfect choice. And so I was very happy to see them pick a really good person to play the father. And so they go into the living room or into the kitchen or dining room to have dinner. And they're walking in there and they're like, nobody's going to talk about your firing. And then all of a sudden I think it's her brother or her cousin or something. It's like, oh, by the way, you got fired. And she's like, and he's like, and Mark Lynn Baker's like, no, you idiot. You're not supposed to say that. And she's like, you said bring it up. And he's like, no, I said don't bring it up. And we have that great little scene there going on. And so they have like a little conversation going on like we saw in the little clip. And then basically after like they kind of shows that end part of that scene we watched showing kind of Jennifer looking off into the distance. That's when all of a sudden transfers to her and her dad talking in another room. And she's like, I thought you needed to get away. And how are you doing? And she basically explains, I'm okay. It is what it is. And he's like, yeah, I know. And like kind of like talks, try to help her out a little bit. And, they kind of have a little bit of conversation. And then after that whole family sequence, that's when we go back to the bar again. And she's there and she's having drinks and stuff like that, because of, still being fired from her job. And she's having drinks and she's like, the bartender comes back over and he's like, do you want to know? And she's like, no, I've hit my limit, for money, blah, blah, blah. And that's when all of a sudden she gets approached by this gentleman and basically introduces himself and says, I work for this and that, and I want you to come work for us. So let's stop there. So that little section, let's talk about the family section there. We saw the clip, we shared it with the world, and we kind of talked a little bit about it, but let's talk a little bit more about it. So out of that sequence there, that scene, that montage of her trying to get a job, the family dinner, that little bar scene, the bar scene wasn't too much, so really don't have to talk too much about that. But that basically the family scene in that little montage, what were your guys' thoughts on that? Was there anything that piqued your interest about it? Or was there anything that you noticed that maybe somebody else didn't? And was there anything that you felt, did that help drive the episode towards its goal of where we're going to get to towards the end of this episode? So starting with you, Jasmine, what were your thoughts on that?
Mic's off, Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Sorry, I thought the mic was on. So going off of the scene where she's with her best friend on the couch, my favorite little snippet they put in there, some Easter eggs, was when she was looking at the article of like an amusement park. On the side, it had man with claws fights and bar brawl, which was like a Easter egg to Wolverine. We also finally got an answer to Eternals with the big ass monster sitting there sticking out of the ground. We finally get some closure on that, because I know a lot of fans have been complaining that we haven't touched on the Celestials at all. That whole Eternal situation, no one's ever touched on it, and it's like you could see it from the sky, so you obviously have to mention it. We also had the family just seems a little chaotic. Like the only people that kind of keep it to a standstill, I think, is the father, because he's trying to keep everybody together, and while everybody else is just kind of jumping from topic to topic to topic. But it just kind of felt like they were all berating her a little bit, because they were worried about everything else, but no one was actually asking, how is she? How is she doing? How is her mental state at that point? Which is very family oriented. That was very believable. And that was like the one thing I took from the episodes. I was like, okay, that's family. It's realistic. And then when you mentioned the bar scene, the one guy that she used to work with, he did mention that, I see a hot girl over there. I'm going to talk to it. I had to mention that. That I was like, I wanted to punch him in the face. I had to say something. I was like, I have to. All right. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you. Jesse, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I definitely gravitated more to the family dynamic that's going on there between Jen and the rest of her family. It seemed like, I mean, it was great to see her dad understand that, hey, you're dealing with a lot. Let's talk about it. And all the nonsense that's going on with her brother or cousin, the guy that's sitting there at the table, that's just that guy. I don't know. There's something wrong with him. He's missing a few screws there. There's a couple screws loose in his head, but he's definitely egging things on. Hey, you got fired. I guarantee you that kid probably either is too stupid to realize that he said something or he did it on purpose, one or the other. But regardless, it definitely felt like a family environment when she sat down at dinner, and you could tell she felt kind of tortured with the fact that, you know, she's now got this. She can't figure out if being She-Hulk's a blessing or a curse, and she has got to deal with her family on top of that, and she's wondering what's going to happen when she gets at the dinner table. Is that all that the topic of conversation is going to be? Well, they danced around it. We had her dad asking questions about Hawkeye and his arrows like over and over and over. But again, like I said, credit to her father for like, okay, let's talk. How you doing? So I really enjoyed that part of it. That of those scenes, that's probably the thing that stood out to me.
All right, thank you. Loki's mom, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I love the whole family dinner scene, and of course the cousin brother or what with the Hawaiian shirt on. You may as well just put a big old L on his forehead. And obviously he's ribbing her and needling her because he's this, you know, ne'er-do-well, dirtbag or whatever you want to call him. And she's this lawyer, and now she's not only a lawyer, but she's just like, oh, now we have another superhero in the family. You know, so remember, these people have already dealt with the fact that Bruce is, you know, from afar, they've watched it. Oh, that's, you know, like, oh, wow, that's my cousin that did that, or tore up that, or you know, saved the world or whatever. So I don't know, maybe they're just trying to downplay it or whatever. And she really gets to her because she's depressed already, and she can't even find a job as a mascot at an amusement park or whatever. And then, you know, you mentioned Mark Lynn Baker, and we don't see enough of him. I haven't seen him in too many things lately, but yeah, he's a really good actor, and he just really, I think, brought a lot of warmth to that character. He was, you know, he was being, you know, like a typical dad. Well, what about Hawkeye? You know, he was interested in, he wants to know about Hawkeye and things like that. And because you know, where did, you know, we've actually asked that question. Where does he do with those arrows and whatnot? So, and then he grounds it by bringing her down to the basement and just kind of, you know, how you doing, baby? How you doing? And, you know, and it was very warm, and, you know, you just felt like, yeah, well, they love her. That family loves her. So she's got a good family to lean on when time's going to come to that. So, yeah, the whole scene was just marvelously done.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I definitely foresee that that whole Hawkeye thing. I think is so funny because I think that's a great little Easter egg that they mentioned him so much in this. That the fact that, you know, Hawkeye and, you know, basically Kate Bishop were kind of ground level heroes for the MCU. If you think about it, like when they keep talking about who is, you know, ground level heroes, like Spider-Man is considered one and so forth. And Hawkeye is kind of that type of character, but at the same time, you know, after Hawkeye ended, a lot of people don't know where Hawkeye stands, if we're ever going to see him again. So I think it's really good to hear that they have him still kind of being flushed out or even talked about in this, you know, series that happens, you know, sometime after the Hawkeye series happens. I think that's great. I think that we still have a future of maybe seeing, you know, Hawkeye, Clint Barton again. So I think that's kind of cool that they brought that up in this episode. Andrew, your thoughts, sir?
I mean, everybody kind of already said most of the stuff. There's a couple things that kind of just stuck out to me. I was thinking about if you've ever been to like a family reunion after a long time, like the things that the main two things that come up is like, are you seeing anybody? Are you romantically, like, do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, or like how's work? Right? Those are like the two main topics that come up when you haven't seen family in a long time. And like for me, like a long time, I would dread seeing family because I already know they're gonna ask me stuff, and I was just like, oh man. So like, so when she walks in and she's immediately like bombarded, it's like yeah, I want to get out of there too. Like I felt that. I really liked her mom's character. It reminds me so much of my aunt, because my aunt is a hairdresser, but she's like that kind of person who's like, oh, like she'll say like, oh, like I have a client who's involved in this job or in this industry, like I can hook you up, like if you know, like that plug, right? Like, so I thought that was really funny because like that's a lot like my aunt. She's always trying to find our family members like jobs through her clients. So that was kind of funny how she's like, oh no, mom, like I'm not interested. Like, no, like he wants to become a superhero. like you help him. I give him your number and everything, and she's like exasperated because like I've been there too, where the like, oh, like I told them like here's your email, or I told them that, you know, it's like they obligate you to do stuff on their behalf, and it's like, oh, like why would you put my name like that? So I thought that was funny. And then like her whole dad wondering about the arrows, which to me is something I always thought about too, because like as someone who like plays a lot of video games, when you use like arrows, like you do have to go back and, you know, you want to, you know, those aren't cheap, right? You want to recycle them, you want to pick them up again and, you know, use them for later. So I thought that was kind of funny. But when her friend is telling her on the couch, like, why don't you just be like an Avenger? Like you got these powers. And like, she's like, no, like I have like 6 figures of debt I got to pay off for like these loans for like being for law school. And she's like, I don't even think like Avengers get paid. And like, I'm like, yeah, I don't think they ever do. It's like an all volunteer force. Like no one's in it for the money. So I thought just the way they kind of like expand the lore, sort of, they kind of like fill out the world a little bit with those like little bits, like what does Hawkeye do with the arrows? And then like, you know what I mean? And like, do the Avengers get paid? Like, is there benefits? Like all that stuff. I love when we get into like the little minutia of stuff like that. So
awesome. Thank you. Jeffrey, any thoughts, sir?
Yeah, you know what? It's actually, I like rounding out the panel and whatnot a little bit. It's fun to soak up everybody's contributions and then kind of pick from them and like try to, you know, kind of glom off of somebody else's shit or whatever, you know. No, bouncing off of what Andrew said, I like the we haven't, I mean, Renee and I have flushed this out and talked about it on the show. We talked about this Cyber, we talked about this Andrew, the lack of connectivity in phase 4 between the series, between the films, compared to what we're used to from the Infinity Saga, it being such a heavy factor and what made it so popular and what made it work the way it did, you know, it made it so epic and you know, and never been done before. The lack of it, I feel like they do in sort of a subdued way add some connectivity to in these Disney Plus series. They did it in Hawkeye, you know, like when we talked about Hawkeye. They're doing it in She-Hulk already. You know, they're slipping things in here and there. You know what I mean? To kind of like, you know, bouncing off Jasmine. They're connecting different things, stuff that's already happened. We're going back to Ragnarok here, you know, with like Bruce Banner right now, you know, and like the you know, the Grandmaster's, you know, ship or whatever, whatnot that caused the accident. You know, so from Sakaar. I like the fact that you know, the conversations in the first episode about Steve Rogers being a virgin, you know, Bruce talking about him and Tony building the bar and building the lab and everything and whatnot, you know, and how Jennifer actually like seemed like she knew about a lot of that stuff on her own. Like they'd had these internal discussions over the years about Steve and about Tony and, you know, the Hulk's relationship and Bruce's relationship and friendships with them. You know what I mean? Like, I love to hear that stuff, that kind of like locker room almost talk or whatever, you know. It's cool how I'm not trying to bring back episode 1, but it's cool how you know, like Jesse was saying, Jennifer Walters seems very you know, very comfortable with her family. You know, it was a really good, you know, chemistry and dynamic with the family. Funny, you know, interesting. And same thing with Bruce. And I feel like you know, it's really interesting that, you know, like with the family during that whole discussion, them mentioning that she's a superhero now and everything, right? Like, you know, kind of connecting them to her to Bruce, You know what I mean? Like as if she's going to follow in her footsteps or whatever. It's like an ultimate, it's an ultimate automatic thing. It's funny. It's interesting. It was really funny. I mean, I love that whole section of that, part of the episode. It was really funny. It reminded me of like other sitcoms I've seen. It reminded me of like Seinfeld in a way, sort of like kind of, that kind of dynamic in a way. And I could have watched like 10 more minutes of the whole family, just making fun of her and talking shit to her, and mom setting her up with some dude. You know what I mean? Like she's like a freaking professional lawyer. She's She-Hulk, and her mom's giving her cell phone number out to dudes.
Thank you. Very true. Very true. All right. So going back to the bar sequence, like I said, the guy from the superhero law division comes and tells her he's got a job for her, and he talks to her a little bit about it, and she automatically says yes to it. We get a really quick yes, which is really awesome. So, basically we can get right into it. After that happens, we go to her first day. It shows her walking through the doors and going in regular Jennifer form. And she's walking in and she meets the gentleman. And I can't remember his name. Does anybody remember his name? The boss's name?
I can't remember.
It's like Holloway?
Holloway. Okay.
Holloway.
So she meets Holloway there, and basically he starts taking her through the building and explains what's going on and why they wanted her. And basically they wanted her because of, being She-Hulk. And, basically while she's there, that they want her in She-Hulk form because she is representing superheroes. She's representing, super people, basically. And that she's going to be a part of the first law division for superhero, types of things. And so they take her through a portion of the building, explaining that to her. And then she's walking by different areas of the building and stuff like that. And she's seeing different, rooms with people in there doing different things. And she's talking, breaking the fourth wall as usual and talking to us and, saying, this is not what I want to be doing and this and that and stuff like that. And then she gets left at her new office. And there in the office, of course, is her assistant, best friend character. And she goes in and she goes, why I got the job? And she's like, why? And she's like, tells her, and she's like, oh, well, but look at this office. We got a window and stuff like that. We got bottled water and all this kind of stuff. And it's acting like this is all the greatest thing in the world. And, Jennifer's kind of like, oh, okay. And basically that's when Jason Segura pops in for a second and giving them it's like a gift basket of some sort and welcomes them to the building. And that's when, of course, the boss comes back by and says, okay, let's go talk in my office. And then that's when it transfers to her office or to his office. And he explains basically her first case that she's going to be working on. And that's Emil Blonsky. We get Emil Blonsky here. We get his first mention of his name. And basically, as he's telling her what it's about, and she's like, I don't feel comfortable taking this because of the relationship between my, cousin Bruce and him and what happened. He's like, that doesn't matter. It should be fine. And she's like, oh, okay. And, basically, this is the job you got to take. And she's like, well, I'd rather work on some other case other than this, anything else. And he's like, well, this is the job. This is the case. If you don't take this, you don't have any job. And she's kind of looking like, oh crap, oh wow. And so then that's when we go, it goes over to the actual prison, and she's walking down with the guard in her regular Gen form, and he's explaining, this and that, you got to sign this waiver. We can't 100% protect you because it's unpredictable and all this kind of stuff, and kind of little jokes and quips there. And so then that's when we go into the cell and we get to see Tim Roth for the first time. And just all of a sudden awe-inspiring. You're like, Tim Roth! We haven't seen him since 2008 as Emil Blonsky. So this was awesome. So before we go on past that, what is everyone's first reaction when they got to see Tim Roth there when it popped up and showed him for the first time? What were your guys' thoughts? Start with you, Jasmine.
I was over the heels. I was so happy because it finally felt like they were connecting old Marvel, like the beginning with the original Hulk film, because it felt like they chucked that one out and just kind of used pieces of information from it, than opposed to actually making it canon due to some dispute with not only the studio but with the original actor himself. So bringing that back, it gave me some nostalgia. I was so happy. I was overjoyed. I was just like, yes! And I just can't wait to see more of him, see what he's bringing. And I know he's mischievous. I know he's full of shit. There's no way he's pulled a new leaf or he's such a good guy. I'm like, boy, please. Haikus, really? Rhymes, you're gonna be a poet now? Boy, bye. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Jess, your first thoughts on seeing Tim Roth for the first time?
Yeah, I've been a fan of Tim Roth for a while. And even when he portrayed Emil Blonsky as Abomination back in the Hulk film, I was that, and that was the one with Edward Norton, right?
Right.
And, I mean, both of those guys, I'm a huge fan. So yeah, seeing Tim Roth, they could have recast this real easy. Like Marvel could have said, we don't need to spend the money to get Tim Roth in here. We don't need to do any of that. And they did. And that's what's great about it. And he's on the TV set, he's in the prison, and I'm just like, okay, this is awesome. And it is probably some of the finest acting that you're going to see. I believe on at least Tim Roth is up there in the upper echelon of actors for me. So, watching him in a Marvel TV show, he's going to probably, he's probably going to remain in that upper echelon compared to everybody else too. So, but yeah, man, excitement all around, man. I was stoked.
Awesome. Thank you. Loki's mom, your first thoughts of seeing Tim Roth? Renee. Jeff, you're muted.
Don't you love
Okay,
that?
I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. I had a little hiccup there. Talking about Tim Roth. I mean, what a good actor. He's done all those great Quentin Tarantino movies, and he's played sort of a different character in each movie that he's done. I mean, he has a broad range, and I sort of link him that era of young British working class actors like Gary Oldman and I'm trying to think of some of the others. The gentleman who was one of the Doctor Who's at one point, I can't think of his Edgerton or Idgerton, something like that. I believe that's his name. They all sort of came. David Wallace, he's another one. He's was in. He plays Ares, I believe, in the DCU. But anyway, he brings that sort of that working class that he's got the Cockney accent going on, and and I sort of like how they set up the whole thing with the reference to Silence of the Lambs, where she even makes the joke, and then about the fava beans and that prison guard who says, this is prison, ma'am. It's all just, he's just very cut and dried. And then, we see sort of that same scene set up with Hannibal Lecter and Clarice sort of referenced a little bit there. So I thought that was really well done. And like I say, couldn't get a better actor, I think, to do the part. And I'll mention the lawyer that came up, that hires her. He's the same lawyer. If you notice in the scene from last week, he's actually the lawyer for the defendant. I'm assuming, because you see him there, and he kind of puts me in mind a little bit of if you've seen the TV show Better Call Saul, the great TV show Better Call Saul. Howard Hamlin. Just for a moment, I almost thought that was him. I thought, oh my God, they've got Howie back, but no, it was another actor. And I guess I've never actually seen him before, but I like he's just very to the point. He doesn't elaborate. Well, if you don't do this, you're fired. okay, and you're going to do this, and he's nonplussed. He never gets upset. So I hope we get to see a little bit more of him, because I think he's sort of a different, sort of what you call a control character or a grounding character for Jen. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Tim Roth, great choice.
Awesome, thank you. Andrew, your thoughts on first seeing Tim Roth pop up?
Well, I was very excited to see him again. I remember when they first announced the show, I think he was like the second person that they cast, because I remember that when they announced him probably almost 2 years ago at this point. But when they did like that whole like Disney Day thing and they announced everything, I remember shortly after they announced that he was attached, and I was very excited because like you said, we haven't seen him in 14 years at this point. 14 years. I don't know how long that's probably longer in MCU years. And you can tell too, because he looks very haggard. He looks much thinner and kind of grayer haired than he did like back in 2008. But I love Tim Roth. I had Pulp Fiction, like Renee mentioned. But also, I think the last time I saw him was in I don't know if you guys ever saw that Fox show, Lie to Me. He was like the main character in that show.
Oh yeah,
I think that's the last time I've seen him. That's the last thing I've seen him in. So
he has another. I'm sorry if I didn't mean to interrupt, but he has another TV series I think called Lone Star. It's sort of a science fiction-y, urban fiction type, but I think it's on one of the streaming channels. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right. I didn't know that, so I appreciate that. But yeah, there's two people who I wanted to see come back from the ancient crevices of the MCU. It's Tim Roth, and then now this gives me hope for maybe one day Sam Rockwell. Hopefully, we'll see Mr. Justin Hammer one day, because like those are like some of the earliest like those were pre-Avenger like villains. And so seeing Tim Roth back at it again, like Renee said, with his like this thick Cockney accent, and they're doing everything, and then I just love his whole spiel. I don't know, maybe it's a little too early for that, Shark, but or Cyber, sorry, for the when he's like expressing like how he thought he was in the right, like he was doing what he was told to do, kind of like it's so reminiscent of John Walker when he does the same thing when he's pleading his case for like as the new Captain America. Like I saw somebody put a clip of like both of those like little like monologues next to each other, and like they're very similar. So like I do think he might be kind of reformed, I think.
Awesome, thank you. Jeff, your thoughts on seeing Tim Roth for the first time?
I mean, what can you say? It's Tim Roth, man. I mean, honestly, I think he looks pretty damn good. Has it really been 14 years, Andrew? Holy shit. I mean, seriously, like, I mean, I didn't study him. I didn't scrutinize him like hardcore. I'm not like, I wasn't feeling him like on a like romantic level or whatever, But at the same time, I thought he looked very similar to Emil Blonsky from The Incredible Hulk. I mean, he looked very, very similar to me. Honestly, he's Tim Roth. I mean, he's one of those actors where when he's his authentic self, right? He's just great. He can act as himself, and kind of just do whatever with it, and it works in every film. Like I've never seen him in anything and had it be bad that I can think of. He's a great ensemble piece. When he's put around, a good cast, he's a great piece. And honestly, he's very impactful in short doses. Kind of like Brie, as Captain Marvel and Endgame. When they decided it was only good to have her in like 3 minutes in the film.
Less is more.
Yes, after the success of Captain Marvel. No, I mean he really think of Pulp Fiction. He killed it in Pulp Fiction, right? In like a 15-minute scene, like if that or whatever, he was great. God, I can't remember the name of that actress that played his girlfriend or whatever in that scene in Pulp Fiction. I really like her. Her sister also acts. Either way, no, I thought it was great.
Well, are you thinking Uma Thurman?
No. I cannot remember their names. They're like I believe they're sisters. I'll look it up in a minute. But either way, no, it was great seeing him. As Tim Roth, it's great to see him as the Abomination too. But I mean, I really I couldn't really tell whether he was like fooling around or playing games with the whole haiku shit and everything and whatnot. And paying his dues and feeling bad and like whatnot and everything. I mean, all the stuff he put out there seemed very logical to me, in terms of like, the super soldier serum affecting him and everything and whatnot. He's doing his job, right? It wasn't personal. I always kind of figured when I thought about the She-Hulk series before it came out, that when we got Tim Roth, he would be genuinely reluctant, like genuinely like feel bad and like want to be contrite about what went down with Hulk back in the day and whatnot. And like, kind of like maybe feel like he did wrong, not just because he wants to get out of jail, but, just because as Emil Blonsky, he seems like a legit dude, like he does. And then the Incredible Hulk, he just gets like, I don't know, obsessed almost with Bruce Banner, like, and the Hulk and wanting to fight him and take him on and everything and whatnot, but he was great in that film. Like Jesse said, he was outstanding. He really was. And I think it's a really good point to note that was the first film, right, that we got before we got Iron Man. So before we got all these awesome actors like Anthony Hopkins, and these outstanding actors and actresses that just decided to join up with Marvel and be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Tim Roth stepped up from jump, and he was pretty popular then, and came right in and wanted to do the Incredible Hulk, and he was great. I mean, honestly, as the villain of the film, as Emil Blonsky and as the Abomination, he was excellent, really great. As far as the scene went, he was great. We'll see how it plays out. If he's manipulating Jennifer, whatever. She seems like she's pretty with it. She's not naive. And who knows? You know what? I mean, maybe he is contrite.
All right. Thank you. So that actress you were looking at the name for is Amanda Plummer. She was the girlfriend of Tim Roth in Pulp Fiction. She is the daughter of Christopher Plummer.
No, one of the Arquette sisters.
Oh.
She was in the scene.
Yeah.
She was in the scene where they took Uma Thurman and had to.
I put in the chat, Joanne
What is
Arquette,
it?
sister
Get her
of
heart
David Arquette.
Yep.
Yeah.
Roseanne Arquette. Okay.
Yes, Roseanne Arquette.
But Amanda Plummer was in the scene with Tim Roth in the restaurant.
Yeah. All right.
Man. Hey, real quick, it was 10 Star, not Lone Star. I started looking it up. I was like, what is this Tim Roth show that I've been missing? It is, I found out it's 10 Star, and I remember seeing some promos for that. So,
okay. Oh, thank you, Jesse.
Absolutely.
Yep, I remember that. All right. Thank you. Thank you all. All right. So, moving on with that scene. So, after that introduction to, Blonsky there, he basically, him and Jennifer have a conversation. She basically goes down there to see what he's all about, to make a decision about taking on the case. They have a conversation. They have that funny Sounds of Lamb thing going on, and they have this great conversation. Basically, him saying, how he is remorseful for what he did, because he only thought that he was doing what he was supposed to because, he was told to do that. But at the same time, he's saying that the super soldier serum is what made him kind of go crazy and do the rampage that we saw at the end of The Incredible Hulk. So he's saying, I am reformed. He says, I do haikus now. That's how my way of coping and like doing namaste and stuff like that to, keep myself from being that crazy with the super soldier serum. And, that, he wants her help to get out of there. He wants to get out of there. He is reformed in that he won't be a danger to society anymore, basically. And after all the things that, he says to her, she kind of goes, oh, okay. And so after that sequence, we go back to her apartment or house, wherever she lives, and she calls Bruce. And basically him and her have a conversation, basically her calling him to tell him that he's going to take the Emil Blonsky case. And, she tries to make it sound like, she's asking his permission first, but really she's calling just to say that she is taking the case, even though they had that feud. And Bruce basically says, that's in the past, that happened a long time ago. And, that was a whole different me, literally a whole different me, which was a really funny reference to the Incredible Hulk, which was absolutely hilarious. And I think that was just really fantastic that they did that. because I actually at first when I watched the episode the first time, I did not come across that until my wife told me, and I was like, oh, I'm like, she's like, oh, didn't you get that? Literally, he was a different person. I'm like, and she's like referring to the Incredible Hulk. I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally should have realized that. But I thought that was a really good quip. And as they're having the conversation, and she's basically, you know, saying, okay, you know, and you know, oh, when you're gonna come back to New York at some time, and he's like, I don't know, it's not gonna be for a while. And it pans out and it shows him he's in a spaceship. The spaceship we saw in the first episode going somewhere. We don't know where he's going, but it is in that unfortunate ship that he almost crashed to in the first episode. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit that people are talking about too. So we'll get to that in a second. But after that, it shows him go off into space, goes back to her, and she's like, oh, he apparently he had to go. And that's when all of a sudden it goes. She looks at the TV, and the TV's got a breaking news thing, and it shows basically a Emil Blonsky thing going on, that he's been going to an underground fighting ring to fight, which is the sequence we saw of Emil Blonsky and, of course, in Shang-Chi. So once again, interconnecting, finally showing us that they're in the same universe, showing that he was fighting in that underground ring where we saw Wong too as well. And she all of a sudden goes and she's looking at doing the fourth wall again and going, oh crap. And that's how the episode ends. So before we move on past that, so that whole end sequence there, the whole conversation with Bruce, and basically the conversation with Blonsky, we talked a little bit about that a little bit, which had a lot of great things. But the whole conversation with Bruce, and then showing him on that ship that they almost crashed into. There's been a few articles, I don't know if anybody else has read them, saying that this is referring to his son in the comics, Scar, who he's had with an otherworldly creature that is related to the World War Hulk storyline. So that's kind of where these articles were saying that this is going. I want to get everyone else's take on, do you think that they are still going towards the World War Hulk line? Because a lot of people are saying we're going to get the Rage Hulk again eventually. So what are your guys' thoughts on that whole Bruce sequence and the whole ship sequence? Starting with you, Jasmine.
Well, like I said last week, I pretty much predicted that's where they were going with the ship coming down and making them crash. I knew it was going to World War Hulk. I knew it was going to be either the wife or the son coming to look for them. I do have a little... they might want to steer clear of bringing in Scar and might want to go with Hulkling, because they're really trying to bring in the whole Young Avengers. And that would be a easier way to softpaw him in there, with him looking up to Hulk like he does in the comics, instead of him being Marvel and the Kree Queen's kid. It could be Hulk and the Kree Queen. That would be more interesting, in my opinion. I think that's probably where they're going to go, because of the fact that they already kind of killed off Marvel, didn't they? In the Miss Marvel film. I can't remember if they killed him or not.
Well, no, Jasmine. Like the Marvel from the comics wasn't in the movie. We got the Carol Larson character. That was
yeah, we got Carol Larson. So I don't think they're going to do Marvel. That's kind of where I was going with it, since they used the female version of Marvel, so Captain Marvel. I have a feeling that they're probably going to use Hulkling as his kid instead. And Go
ahead.
What I was going to say was, and basically when it comes to I feel like She-Hulk is spanning like all of Phase 4. Because that's Shang-Chi. That's way back in Phase 4 compared to it being right after She-Hulk being right after Moon Knight. So I feel like this show spans all of Phase 4, in my opinion.
Okay. Any
That's all I
thoughts
gotta
on any thoughts on the Bruce Jen conversation?
The Bruce Jen conversation. I did enjoy the little joke about the fact that he's Hulk's a whole different person now. I caught that. I cracked up laughing. And I do believe that she was calling because she already took the case. She was already duped by I forget his name already. Blonsky? She was already duped. He basically played off of the fact that she's a more remorseful person. She believes in second chances. And there's no way he doesn't have a TV in there. That he can't just watch her work in the courtroom. Especially with the way the MCU is so hands-on. They're so in everybody's business. So I have a feeling that Blonsky's been talking to the Thunderbolts. And that's since the original guy who was going to turn to Red Hulk died, they're probably going to use him to replace him on the Thunderbolts. Okay. So with her conversation with Hulk, I feel like he knew exactly what she was doing from like the moment he couldn't get a word in edgewise. She just kept speaking over him. He knew that she was like, why the hell did you call me, basically?
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse, your thoughts?
Well, you get the sense of the relationship between. You can tell that Jen and Bruce are close. Bruce kind of, even though she's calling, he knows exactly, or even though she's calling to just supposedly get his permission, he can see right through that. So there's, the one thing that kind of solidifies for me is that these two, even though they're cousins, they've known each other for quite a while, and they've definitely got a history. So well enough to know each other without the other one actually having to say what they're actually calling for. Bruce knows why she's calling. So yeah, as for the whole World War Hulk setup, this is exciting. I read, I think we covered, I don't know if I was a part of that one or not, but I know we did that on one of my shows. I think I actually might have sat out on that one, but I read it, got prepared for it, and wasn't able to make the show. But we did cover World War Hulk, and the way that it's set up in the comics, if I remember correctly, all of what sent him into Rage Monster Hulk, to where he came back and basically fought a lot of the Marvel superheroes, was before we found out he had a son. So this is going to be interesting to see how the MCU does this before we find, because I assume they are probably he's going to show up back at Sakaar, and I bet you Scar's already born. So there's probably going to be some kind of a big event that happens there that sends him into, the absolute rage Hulk, and then we're going to have to deal with him when he comes back to Earth. If they mimic that storyline, it is a fantastic storyline. One of the better Hulk storylines out there. There's probably Future Imperfect, and then World War Hulk is probably below that. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that's going to roll out. And if that's what we're teasing to, I mean, it's got to be what's happening, right? I mean, all the elements are kind of falling into place for this. And of course, there's probably news already that's what they're going to build to. I wonder. So, but yeah, I'm excited, man. It's a way to end the show. Way to get, one of the things that I love about the TV shows, what I want to see in my TV shows, is that connectivity to the actual films. So this is something that does that. This is something that branches those two. I mean, Hulk's been dancing around in these two episodes. Okay, yeah, sure. We're obviously getting that can tie it to the films pretty easily, but this is actually going to set up some kind of event, or ties into some kind of event that is happening in the film. So I'm excited, man. I'm definitely excited.
Awesome. Thank you. Loki's mom. Same question.
I don't know that much. I don't know that much about the Hulk World War Hulk or any of that. So so what you're saying, Jesse, is that Hulk has a kid on Sarkar.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he would have had an affair to keep it in continuity with the Ragnarok film. He would have had an affair, probably as Hulk, with a.
I think so.
Some
What
sort
did he
of
like?
Some sort of a large.
He didn't have an affair. He didn't have an affair. He had a legitimate relationship with an alien woman on Sakaar. They had a kid.
Yeah, but as Hulk or as Bruce, as Hulk, I guess.
No, it was
Hulk,
definitely the Hulk.
So
So
that's
in
weird.
the films,
Actually, both of them.
I'm just trying to imagine what does the woman look like, or the wife, or the
she
partner
was
look
definitely
like?
in the comics. She was an alien. That she was not humanoid. Well, I shouldn't say that. She was an alien looking woman. We'll just put it that way. But wasn't he involved with one of in the Ragnarok film? Wasn't he involved with I want to say Valkyrie? It wasn't Valkyrie, was it?
No, not Valkyrie. They were just friends.
Valkyrie's
They were
only
just friends.
vagina, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd have to be an awfully large alien woman.
Listen.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Right.
Not really.
One of
He
those,
really
one of those
isn't.
ladies from
Jasmine, are you telling me
Futurama.
that? Are you telling me that Hulk and Bruce were throwing the D like on
Yeah.
that like
Yeah, she wanted when they got married, when on their wedding night, she wanted to be loved by both of them. She wanted to know Hulk fully. So he went down and became Bruce, and then she met Bruce, and then she kissed Bruce, and then he turned to Hulk, and then her and Hulk got it. And then probably Banner and her got it. Because she's not really that tall.
Yeah, but Bruce was the whole time he was there. He was Hulk. He was never Bruce Banner.
That doesn't mean that means Bruce doesn't remember.
Hey,
he was only there for a few
we'll
seconds.
We'll see.
Hey, when Hulk's been beat
That's
that up,
interesting.
and then Bruce steps in, you just fall asleep.
Let's just
Yeah,
assume.
yeah,
Let's just assume because of the line, because of the Marvel line. Let's just assume he was in Hulk form. Let's go with that.
That's so sad. Poor Bruce.
Well, anyway, going back to I mean, I think it's interesting that they're taking it that, and of course, I love seeing that little spaceship again. Because I love spaceships. I can't get enough of them. So you see that little saucer take off, and with Bruce in it. So probably it's just going to be like little snippets of that along. I dare say with the TV show, hopefully little hints and little amuse-bouche of what's coming. And it looks like it's going to be really exciting, and hopefully bring in a lot of the characters that we think that hopefully that are coming in, sort of newer characters, maybe the Fantastic Four, or Silver Surfer, or somebody like that.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Any thoughts, sir?
I mean, I'm not that familiar with the World War Hulk storyline. I think I saw one made for TV DVD special at some point where it's kind of just I know they sent him to another planet, right? The Illuminati, I think they sent him to another planet, and then it's basically just the plot of the Ragnarok film with him being like a gladiator there. So I don't know much more about that storyline.
There's a point in the book where the world is about to break apart, and Hulk goes down to the center of the earth and holds the earth together. Well, that planet together, which is insane. So there's just a tiny little snippet of it. But sorry,
I
go ahead.
see. Okay. Well, yeah. So everybody else kind of mentioned their thoughts on that. So I don't have much to add. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I don't have much to add to this. To this part, at least, I don't.
How about the end of the episode?
Okay, so the end of the episode. I like how we see she calls her cousin, and he's like, you already kind of decided, right? It's obviously she's asking for permission, which I appreciated that because she's very level headed, which is good because she's desperate to get back to work, but she knows she has to maintain the lines of communication and not be a conflict of interest with her cousin. So that's pretty smart on her behalf to make sure there's no you're not backstabbing your family by, if I knew somebody was trying to kill me or try to kill me 14 years ago, and then one of my cousins was like, hey, I'm going to represent this person for parole, I'd be like, I don't know. Right. But I mean, the Hulk, I guess you don't really have much to worry about because there's not much that can kill you, except I guess another Hulk. So yeah, I liked how she wanted to talk with him, and then we see Bruce whisked off to the stars, back to probably Sakaar or somewhere else. But I like the end of the episode. I enjoyed it. I'm curious to see now, like, it sucks that now that she accepts the assignment, like now Blonsky's gone, and I don't know if I'm convinced that it was of his own doing. I think maybe Titania might have busted him out. I'm not sure. I have no idea. And then I don't know if we talked about it, but I just like the part where she goes to the prison and she's kind of crack jokes, and the guy's like this is a prison. Like, she's like, oh yeah, sorry. She's all like kind of like nervous with that nervous energy, and she's kind of just like poking jokes and like this isn't the time kind of thing. And she's like, oh yeah. So yeah, I definitely liked it a lot more than the first episode. I'll tell you that.
Awesome, thank you, Jeff. Any thoughts, sir?
Yeah, man, I'm telling you right now, that short scene of Bruce and that freaking ship man in space was more exciting than the entire Eternals film for me. You know what I mean? Like, literally. I mean, just that scene alone like got me more excited and turned on than the Eternals did. I mean, that shit was awesome. Like, I want to know what the hell that ship was. Where did it come from? How the hell did Bruce get it? You know what I'm saying? Like, how would he even have the contacts to be even? Who is he dealing with to be even getting a ship like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, well,
they came down. I'm sorry to interrupt. They came down in the last episode. That was when the ship came down and they were driving on there. That's what caused them to go off the road. So they came here. Somebody from Sakaar came for him.
Well, sure, but that's what I'm wondering is like, now I could understand if Bruce went to like an alien race for a ship and got a ship like that, right? But on Earth, I'm wondering what kind of contacts would he have? Who would he reach out to provide him with a ship like that? Would it be Sword? Would it be Shield? Would it be Nick Fury?
Probably nobody. They probably got him. He didn't know it was coming.
Well, he was solo though in the ship.
Well,
I think it was just hanging out like back in his. It looked like his room. I thought he was like hanging out in his room on the ship, and I figured somebody else was piloting. I think that I'm kind of in Renee's what Renee's saying there. I'm thinking somebody else came and got him. They finally found him because they were probably looking for him in the first episode. Yeah. Ran him off the road, and then and then he took off. They finally got him, and he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess I need to go back for some reason."
He's got a kid.
You got to go. You got to be daddy.
Yep. Big green daddy.
Very true.
I like it.
All right. So, Andrew, sir, you need to depart, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have like on my grandpa's caretaker, so I need to attend to him by now. So
yeah, most certainly.
Thanks for having me on.
Good talking to you, man. Take care.
Guys, take care. Have a great evening.
Care.
Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you, Jasmine. And I met everybody else I met already, but yeah, nice meeting you, Jasmine. Goodbye, guys.
See ya.
All right. So we actually have a person in our comments real quick in the front row. Thank you for the comment. This person states the Sakaarians came and got him, but why? More exciting than She-Hulk. Haha. Hey guys, tuning in from Australia. Thank you in the front row. Thanks for tuning in from Australia. Welcome. Excellent. Yeah, that is a good thing. Yeah, I think the Sakaarians did come for him. I think that ship was autopiloted. Because it looked like it was autopilot when they almost crashed into it in the first episode. So I think that they sent it for him to take it back to Sakaar. So I completely agree. All right. So talk about this post-credit scene. The episode is over. We talked about the episode. I don't know if anybody else caught it in the credit scene prior to the post-credit scene. There is the imagery that we go through, showing all the names who was, in the episode and stuff like that. There is a cartoon picture in it that shows like this map thing showing where the two different bathrooms are. And I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but it says poop here and don't poop here.
I think that's what. Yeah, that's what when he brought the gift basket, he was like, "This is the map to show you where to poop." I had to actually like rewind that because I was like, "Is that what he said?" That is what he said.
I think
The
that's
girls
actually
were very happy about that, though.
Yeah, why would he know what the best girls' bathroom is?
No, I think it's everybody's bathroom. I don't think it's the girls.
Oh, okay, unisex.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely hilarious.
I mean,
that they had that.
Can we
we
just,
always
like,
women's we always have the couches and the all the luxurious things that the guys don't have in their bathrooms.
I don't get like, okay, I think, well, the best place to poop. I mean, are we? I know where I would prefer.
places.
Like if I'm at work and there's like 2 bathrooms, I guess I do have one that I would prefer to go to. Usually it's the one that's farthest away, which I think is exactly what's on that map because it goes forever.
Yep. One's in this corner, the other one's down to the other corner.
Right.
So yeah.
Nice.
All right. In the front row has said in the comments again, she would need her own bathroom because everything else gets large when she's a She-Hulk. So that is true. That is true. That is true. Thank you in the front row. All right, so the post-credit scene, of course, in this episode is nothing super, impressive or really anything meaning for the episode or connecting it to the rest of the connectivity. But it is a funny little post-credit scene, and basically the post-credit scene is basically She-Hulk helped her dad out with chores around the house, which is absolutely hilarious. And I think it's really fun that they brought this in because if you remember in the family dinner scene, when they're having that conversation, it kind of cuts away from them kind of like having that finishing that conversation. So I think this was kind of like the leftover of what happened there. And it shows her helping him out with all the different chores around the house because she's She-Hulk and she can lift and move things a lot more because she's so much bigger and stronger. So I think this little post-credit scene was pretty funny. So what is everyone else's thoughts on this post-credit scene? Jasmine, your thoughts?
I thought it was hilarious to see how her family's already using her abilities to their advantage. Like, they didn't take any time at all. I feel like that was the same night.
Yeah.
Like, she had to go upstairs, get some new clothes because they had her changed so they can get some stuff done before she leaves. And, of course, Chad is being a dick and sitting there chatting his little mouth off while he's changing the tire. And she's just like, oh, I hate my life. And she's holding up the whole car. I'm just like, Chad needs like a good hit in the back of the head by She-Hulk. Like a real good whack. Rattle his brain correct because there's something wrong up in there. Well, it's nice to see that the daddy was like, I just want the waters in here. You don't have to do it. But everybody else was like, no, I need this. Put the TV up there. And of course, Chad had to say, oh, that TV's crooked.
Yep,
no, it wasn't.
Very true. Very true. Thank you. Anything else on that post-credit scene, Jasmine? Oh,
For me?
Yeah, I said anything else?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Jesse, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah. Listen, I've got a son who just he's getting ready to turn 13, I think, at the beginning of next year. He's as big as me. And let me tell you, there is nothing better than putting your own kids to work for you. To have them carry the big, heavy things around that I don't want to carry that today. How about you do that, son? So, yeah, I can't fault her father for being like, hey, I've got somebody that can carry, what was that, like 6 large things of water, and these were water cooler things. I mean, yeah, that's insane. So yeah, I would be doing the same thing if I was her dad. I'll just put it that way. I'd be like, okay, and yeah, the whole tire sequence where he's trying to change. He doesn't even know how to change a tire. That's how worthless that dude is. Chad, what a name. But yeah, again, it gives us insight. We get to see the family dynamic that she's coming from, and you know, it's all in good fun. It's perfect for this series.
Excellent, thank you. Loki's mom, your thoughts?
Well, it really spoke to me because I'm one of those people who will take advantage, just like Jesse was talking about. You know, anybody? Well, honey, can you take? Can you reach up there and get that for me? And I've got talking about family. I have a hulky nephew. He's 6'2", and well, he played I think about 7 years in the NFL, so he's a big dude.
Daggone.
And so anyway, yeah, he was always like my go-to as far as getting anything moved or anything. Can you come pick this up and take this, go over? And he was always just really good at. So yeah, so people, yeah, we take advantage of stuff like that. The older you get, the more you're going to do it. So you'll do it too someday.
Excellent, thank you. Jeff, your thoughts are on the post-credit scene.
Well, I mean, you know, I guess. Oh, I wanted to mention. Remember earlier I mentioned about how the family scene played out kind of similar to like a Seinfeld episode. Well, basically, in the build up to the series, Tatiana Maslany sort of like you know, based her performance as Jennifer Walters based off of Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And that was the character Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld served as a touchstone for Maslany. Head writer Jessica Now wanted to create a character that had a well-rounded life that then has to deal with the unexpected addition of superpowers to her life, exploring her emotional and mental response. So, you know, I think that's an interesting connection right there, you know, like, hey, you can't go wrong with trying to copy Elaine from Seinfeld. I mean, honestly, she was always my favorite, to tell you the truth. I mean, honestly, I loved her. But Julie Louis-Dreyfus is awesome, and I'm so glad that she's in the MCU. I can't wait to see her again. You know, I'm wondering what she's going to pop into next. But,
she's a good actress, too. She's a really good actress.
Yeah.
She's going to be in Thunderbolts.
Well, yeah. But she'll be in something else, too. But either way, no, I mean, I liked it. I like the fact that they brought the family angle in this episode, you know, like, why not? I mean, it was good. It was a good spin. You know, it made things interesting. It kind of brought things to home a little bit. And it sort of, I guess, grounded or maybe like, you know, humanized She-Hulk a little bit, like, you know, in a way. And gave us, again, some more depth, like some more like later on type, like, you know, origins type stuff, like kind of like, you know, tell us a little bit about her actual life, her family life, her, you know, her dynamic, what she's like as a person around her family, you know, and, you know, what the family dynamic is like. And they were a great addition to the episode. I felt like overall, hey, what can I say? I mean, this series so far through episode 2 is, I thought Ms. Marvel was great. It was better than Moon Knight. And I think that She-Hulk so far through 2 episodes is blowing Ms. Marvel away. Like, it's at a different level. Tatiana Maslany is like in a different place as an actress than that very talented young woman that played Kamala Khan, you know, in the Ms. Marvel series, although she was great. Tatiana Maslany is extremely talented and very multifaceted. It can do a lot of different things, you know. And honestly, I didn't know that she was as comedically effective and had such great timing, you know, as she has presented herself in this series so far. And when Feige first described the series as a comedic courtroom or trial type, you know, show or whatever and whatnot, you know, a legal comedy, I think he said, you know, as like a description of the series. I didn't know what to think of that. It kind of befuddled me a little bit. I was a little concerned. But I'm liking it so far. I liked it. And I feel like The post-credit scene, the fact that they went ahead and did one at all. I mean, they did one in the first episode too, right, Cyber?
What?
Didn't they do some kind of basic? Didn't they do like a mid-credit or like an end-credit scene, like on the first episode of She-Hulk too?
Yeah, it was telling that Steve Rogers was not a virgin.
There you go. I'm loving that fact. I'm liking that they're doing that. I think it's great. And it adds something to the shows. Hey, they're doing a really great job of giving us a lot as an audience in a very compacted version. In the 33 minutes we're getting, a lot's happening. So, great end credit scene, great episode, killing it. She-Hulk is killing it.
Thank you. Awesome. We have another comment from in the front row. He or she says, well, I'm watching, so all good, guys, smiley face. The family dynamics worked well for Miss Marvel, so why not hey? Agree. I think so too. Very much so. All right, folks. So that is the end of the She-Hulk episode. That was a great review, guys. I want to thank you all for making such a great effort and giving us lots of great information to talk about. You guys were all great on the panel. Thank you for stopping on by. We're going to go around and everyone could just once again plug their YouTube channels, their podcasts, whatever they like. And then we'll bring the show to a close. So starting with you, Jasmine.
All right. My YouTube channel is YouTube Now 03. And pretty much I do a lot of movie reactions, comic book shows, series, makeup tutorials, and story time. So if you want to come and join me there, you're more than welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, and definitely check out her YouTube channel. It's really amazing little channel, and it's on YouTube. So, yeah, definitely check it out. Jesse, sir, please.
All right. So, yeah, if you go onto any podcatcher and type in the W2M network, you should be able to find all of the shows that are on the W2M network. You could probably find the Source Material Comics feed out there, too. Just type in Source Material Comics. We covered, I mentioned the Metal Hammer of Doom earlier. We did an episode last night covering Five Finger Death Punch's new album, Afterlife, which was, it dropped, I think, last week. And we did a review of it. And it's definitely Five Finger Death Punch. So if you like Five Finger Death Punch, you're not going to go wrong with that album because they didn't veer from what they usually put out. On Source Material, hey, we just dropped on that feed. We just dropped Unspoken Issues, which is, like I said, my 90s centric comic book podcast. We dropped our discussion of the first 8 issues of Ghost Rider 2099. So if you're a 2099 fan, you might want to check that out. First 8 issues were discussed on there. Yeah, look at that. He's sharing a screen there. It's showing you a lot of what we have discussed on that feed. We got Mad Balls #1. That right there was Darker Image, Star Wars, Shattered Empire, all sorts of great. That's a Doom comic, by the way. Doom #1, insane comic. So anyway, if you like comics, I talk about them with a lot of different people over there on that. On the W2M network. Just like I said, type in Source Material Comics and any podcatcher should be able to find it. We're on YouTube too. We just basically post the episodes over there. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, so definitely go check out the WM2 network folks out there, and definitely check out their stuff. I've looked at it myself, and a lot of it is really interesting information. Lots of great reviews and just really fantastic stuff. So definitely check them out. Loki's mom, your thoughts, go ahead and tell us about Podcast of Champions.
Yeah, just anybody wants to come over and listen to some great podcasting with the Grandmaster himself over at sarkar.forum.net. The MCU Podcast of Champions. I believe if you type it into YouTube, you can probably pull the YouTubes up at that point. I don't know too much about it, the other places you can find it. But anyway, just type away Google and hopefully it'll pop up. And we always have great conversations over there.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Hey, and I also like to hang out with my good buddy Jeff TrueKnowledge, and we just cruise together.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, they do. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's shit. I don't know.
That's
Sometimes You never know. But yeah, definitely.
That's kind of like Renee and I's friendship. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it could be shit. You never know.
Not so
Yeah.
far. Not so far.
But yeah, definitely check out Sakar. .freeforums.net, guys. It's a great little forum. You can talk about anything on there too as well. There's feeds for all kinds of different stuff: Resident Evil, Star Wars, Star Trek, all that great stuff. So definitely, if you're into any of those things, that definitely they talk about it. They're really fantastic over there. Definitely check it out. And of course, if you enjoy my self here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, you can definitely check out my solo content under Cyberneticshark as well, under YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rizzle, all those great places. And I post my own kind of stuff on there. I've been doing a lot of reviews and stuff lately of newer stuff coming out. I also been going to start popping up some more of my 1001 Movies to See Before You Die reviews. I took a little dip on that for a while, and I getting back into it. Some films I've watched so many over the years, and I'm starting to try to get back into releasing those because I think there's a lot of great information about those films. A lot of them are really fantastic films, and definitely if you get a chance, go by and check those out because they're really fun. Lots of great information. If you're a big fan of like classic films, stuff like that, definitely something for you to check out. Jeff, any words from you, sir?
Well, yes. I was thinking that I wonder like who the Hulk would contact or subcontract to get him a condom when he's in Hulk form. You know what I mean? Because they you got to have a big.
Use a weather balloon.
Yeah, I don't think Magnums would do it for Hulk. You know what I'm saying? Like, would do him justice. So he might burst right through one of those bitches.
Go raw, raw Hulk, raw.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, there you go. Hulk smash, baby. There you go. Why not? But anyways, no, folks. As I'm in the private chat right now, bullshitting with Renee, about to bullshit with Renee about. We're actually going to on the Sunday show at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We're going to do a review of the House of the Dragon from HBO Max, the Game of Thrones prequel, on Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a live stream review of the first episode, and we're going to go ahead and just flush out the whole series all the way through. I think it's 9 episodes, I think. We're going to do all of them, and probably do them right at 6. And, if I can convince Renee and Sweet Talker well enough, hard enough, I might even be able to get her to come on Sunday. Jasmine's going to be there. Jasmine is becoming a asset and a frequent guest on the Bleeding Edge, and loves to record. Wants to jump right in on that House of Dragons action, and should be fun. Why not? We're gonna change things up. I guess I'm gonna add another playlist. For the House of the Dragon, and we're gonna get after it. Should be fun. Besides that, we got the Black Panther film review next Wednesday on the main show. Should be great. Great movie. Can't wait to do it. Renee will be there for that. And 9:35 p.m. Eastern, 6:35 p.m. Pacific. We'll be live. We'll be doing the review, another Infinity Saga review, as we wind our way down the path to Infinity War and Endgame eventually. Hey, we did our first DCEU special last Wednesday with Mark Rutledge from Religion Broadcasting Network and William, host of Geek Gauntlet podcast. It was great. I had a great time. We had a great discussion. Very lively, a lot of passion, a lot of discussion, and it was fun. It was a great idea of Cybers to go in that direction, kind of change things up, and hopefully in the future maybe we'll add some more components like that into the shows, because I certainly had a great time with it. I really did. I'm not a big DC person, but I learned a lot on the show. I did, from Mark and from William and whatnot, and there's a lot to talk about right now with DC and DCEU, I think. So other than that, I don't have time to make solo content these days. I focus on my private videotaping of the sexual nature for the most part. of course,
It's all animated.
Yes,
Aw.
All CGI.
Aw.
I try to make sure that I get the.
He's really good at it too.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you right now. Listen, you gotta understand something. You have to literally handle your business in the bedroom to videotape every single sexual experience you have, like I do, consistently for years and years and years, like I have. You gotta be handling your business at that point, because if you're just like a joke in bed, how could you watch that shit on video? I couldn't. You know, so at that point, you gotta like seriously be like getting after it.
I think YouTube saw that you were talking weird and decided to stort you. So
Yeah, it was all you were all garbled.
It was
there.
good. I think it was a good thing. I think it just saved the show.
Well, hey,
much like your sex life.
it's all legal. It's all legal. Okay, everything's up. Everything is above board.
Consensual.
Yep, it's all consensual except for when I fuck with aliens. Because you know, as we all know,
you had no choice.
Yep, there are no fuck laws in space. You know what I'm saying? So you know, it's all good at that point. But no, loving it here in the Bleeding Edge. Loving being here with Cyberneticshark. Great to see you, Jasmine. Always good to see you, Renee. Jesse, wonderful to have you, brother. Good to see you again, man. Keep getting after it. Keep grinding over at W2M, man. Getting after it and whatnot. And hopefully, we'll see you again here soon.
Absolutely.
Oh wait, we're gonna have you back. I think for like episode 6 or 7. I think of the series. So
yeah, the second to last episode. I'll be back. I'll be rejoining you guys. We'll be talking about it.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Episode 2, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for the show, guys. We appreciate it, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Peace.
Hey. I said, excuse me, but you don't understand where I'm at. I was all around the world, on span, across the map. I've been laying low and now it's time to pop up, bitch, I'm back. Now I'ma run it up. Snooze on the kid that you dumb or what?